Shalom Akim. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the apostle GMS, who gave us this true understanding of the scriptures and understanding of the Holy Bible. So I want to start off by giving this lesson on who everyone calls Jesus Christ, whose real name is Yahawashi Hamashiach. Jesus Christ is a false name. It's a false God. There's no actual real name called Jesus Christ according to the scriptures. It's a bullshit name. His real name, who people call Jesus Christ, his real name is Yahawashi Hamashiach. And I'm going to give you an account of how he really was as a person. Most people, when they think about Jesus Christ, they think of a scrawny, skinny, blonde hair, blue eyes, pale-skinned white man. That's actually what people think. If you're Catholic, this is actually who you bow down to. You see in your Catholic churches a bunch of images of who you call Jesus Christ being a so-called white man, aka an Edomite. Who are the Edomites? They are the so-called Caucasian people that we know of today. They are the Romans of the ancient world back here today. Nothing new under the sun, according to the scriptures in Ecclesiastes. But anyhow, I'm gonna get straight to the point. The point is, who we call Jesus Christ, Yahawashi Hamashiach, was a man that was reckoned to be with, man. He was no joke. He was a guy you had to be you need to be very careful with, because, you know, I can understand he's in the flesh. He is the son of the living power, Yahweh, but he's also in the flesh. So he has to constantly combat his flesh 24/7, even though he did not sin at all, according to the scriptures. So I just want to give an understanding on who he was as a person, his demeanor, his mannerisms, and how he is contrary to what most people would classify as, you know, not soft and not, you know, open arms to everybody, because that's what we've been taught in Christianity and in Catholicism. And that's what I've been taught too, because I was once a Catholic, I was once a Christian, but let's just swipe all that away and let's focus on who Yahawashi Hamashiach was. All right. So Salakia, I have a different Bible known as the Holy Bible, placed by the Gideons. I've noticed a few kind of, you know, wording issues in this book, but nonetheless, the point is to edify and understand who Yahawashi was as a person. So let's get right into it. So first things first, I'm gonna go to Luke chapter 19, and I'm gonna go through verses 21 through 22. So this is Salakia. This is Luke 19 and 21. This is Yahawashi speaking. Oh no, this is not Yahawashi. This is his servant speaking. For I was afraid of you, because you are an exacting man. You take up what you did not lay down and reap what you did not sow. He said to him, by your own words I will judge you, you worthless servant. Did you know that I'm an exacting man? Really meaning austere. Taking up what I did not lay down and reaping what I did not sow? So it's very clear that in this section, Yahawashi is making it abundantly clear he's a hardline person. And the disciples knew that. They all knew that. There's no way you can not be his disciple and then talk about, oh, I didn't know he was this way or that way. And Yahawashi made it very clear, you know how I am. So why would you try and, you know, change up on me, so to speak? And he was very severe about it too, because according to Revelation 1, which we'll go on later with 4, he had a powerful, authoritative voice. He spoke with authority. And we're going to stay in the same chapter. I'm going to go to verse 27 now. Luke 19, verse 27. But these mine enemies of mine, who did not want me to reign over them, bring them here and slay them in my presence. Is that loving? Is that the Jesus Christ that all these Christians talk about? You know, he was very loving, candy, rainbows, and lollipops. No, he said, bring my enemies who would not want me to reign over them, slay them before me. That's not a loving, that's not very loving to, the Christian church. So they better understand that. But I'm gonna go to the book of Matthew now to give an account as to how Yahawashi was. This is Matthew chapter 10. And I'm going to go to verses 34 through 38. Matthew 10 through 34. And yeah. Do not think that I came to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I came to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against a mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be the members of his household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Salakia. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. That's abundantly clear. Yahawashi was very stern on this idea of following him. You have to follow him to the fullest. You might have to weed out certain people. You might have to weed out family members, good friends, best friends, whatever the case is. You have to make sure that you're following him, period, end of story. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right? So now I'm going to go to the book of John, chapter 2. Okay, this is good. John chapter 2, verses 13 through 16. The Passover of the Jews was near, and Yahawashi went up to Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those who were selling oxen and sheep and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. And he made a scourge of cords and drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and the oxen, and he poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And to those who were selling the doves, he said, take these things away. Stop making my Father's house a place of business. His disciples remembered that it was written, zeal for your house will consume me. And the zeal for your house will consume me is in Psalms 69 and 9, if I'm not mistaken. So even the disciples remember the scriptures as well. So that's beautiful. Yeah, he drove all these money changers, people who were selling and buying in the temple, and he drove them all out furiously and strongly rebuked them because they're not supposed to be doing that. And it was not a joke to be doing this in the Father's house. Because the Jews at this time, they were not really focused on, being about the laws that they supposedly uphold. This is incorrect. This is not how you walk in the manner of the Lord. So I'm gonna go back to Matthew again. This is gonna be Matthew chapter 23. So I'm gonna read it in Matthew chapter 23, verses 23 through 39. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier provisions of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness, but these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. You blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and of the dish, so that the outside of it may become clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you're like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. So you, too, outwardly appear righteous to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had been living in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partners with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets. You serpents, you brood of vipers, how will you escape the sentence of hell? So here, Yahawashi was going into the wicked scribes and Pharisees who were just being hypocrites. They were not actually keeping the laws. They weren't actually following the commandments. And they wanted to present themselves as being righteous, but inwardly in their minds, aka their lives, if I'm not mistaken, the Greek, they're not doing righteously. They're not doing what's right in the sight of the Heavenly Father. And Yahawashi is comparing them to the ancient forefathers who were persecuted by their own people. And there's many accounts of that, many accounts. And it's very clear that he was very fiercely angry with these people. Now, not all the scribes and Pharisees were wicked. Let's just be clear about that. That's not the case. But those who were wicked, Yahawashi had a problem with. They were hypocrites. They were not doing what was right. They looked like they were on the outside, but on the inside, their minds were far away from the Most High. Now I'm going to give another account in Matthew chapter 16. So in the same book. So it's Matthew 16, verses 21 through 24. From that time, Yahawashi began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised up on the third day. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord, this shall never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's. So even Peter was sharply rebuked. He was called Satan. He was called Shaitan. Because Yahawashi was here on this earth for his Father's business. He came as a sheep. It was not his time to be gloried. It was his time to focus on the Father's will. And the Father's will was that he shed his blood on the cross for the children of Israel. And here you can see an account of Peter trying to stop him from doing that. And Yahawashi sharply rebuked him and said, no, I have to, you need to just get out of here at this point, Peter, because you're being Satan. You are Satan right now. And you are disorderly to what I need to do. Yahawashi was not playing around. And let's not forget, he had a strong voice. So imagine how he said this in the Lashuan Kadash. Man, it's just wild. So now we're going to go to Mark. I'm going to go to Mark chapter 9, verse 28 through 32. When he came into the house, Yahawashi, his disciples began questioning him privately. Why could we not drive it out? And he said to them, this kind cannot come out by anything but prayer. From there, they went out and began to go through Galilee, and he did not want anyone to know about it. For he was teaching his disciples and telling them, the Son of Man is to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And when he has been killed, he will rise 3 days later. Verse 32. But they did not understand the statement, and they were afraid to ask him. Why were they afraid to ask him? Because they knew, like I said in Luke 19, that Yahawashi was an austere man. Now, in this Bible that I'm reading at, it says exacting, but I'm assuming also refers to a hardline individual, someone who's not a pushover, someone who is about who they really are. They know who they are and they know what they believe in, essentially. And you cannot break that person, and they will fight tooth and nail against you if you're trying to stop them or make them, succumb to some sort of folly. But in this instance, they were afraid to ask Yahawashi like what he meant by this thing, That shows you who he really was. That he was a guy that people were afraid, to speak to about certain things. So we got that. I'm gonna go back to the book of Matthew, and we're going to chapter 15. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verses 22 through 28. And a Canaanite woman from that region came out and began to cry out, saying, have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. My daughter is cruelly demon-possessed. But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and implored him, saying, send her away, because she keeps shouting at us. But he answered and said, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and began to bow down before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered and said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. But she said, yes, Lord, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahawashi said to her, O woman, your faith is great, and it shall be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed at once. So you had a woman of Canaan begging Yahawashi to literally help cleanse her sick daughter. And he ignored her. He wanted nothing to do with her, and the disciples wanted nothing to do with her either. But here it is. Christianity would say, Jesus accepts everybody. Everybody is loved by him, and you can come into him, and that's that. Jesus is very loving. But why is it that in this instance, he's literally like telling her, you need to get the hell away from me, because I'm not dealing with you. But she said here, he said he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then you jump down to verse 27. Oh no, before I get to 27, it says, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. That's what Yahawashi said to this Canaanite woman, who's not an Israelite. She's a Canaanite. But she knew that Yahawashi was the anointed one, the Hamashiach. But she said, yes, Lord, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from their master's table. So she had to literally humble herself to the fullest extent to receive an acknowledgement of, help from the Yahawashi. It says, "O woman, your faith is great, and it shall be done for you as you wish." So she got a little piece, a tiny, tiny piece of what the Israelites are gonna get in the kingdom of heaven, which is soon to be established. But Jesus just loves everyone. He was very accepting. He called her a dog. Come on now. So, let's see what else. So most people will think also that Jesus, again, is a white-haired man. Oh, he's not white-haired. He's a white man, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, pale skin type of guy. But that's not the case. Yahawashi was a black man from the tribe of Judah. And we're going to go over his characteristics right now. How he looked, what he wore, etc. We're going to the book of Revelation chapter 1. We're going to go to Revelation 1:1. Revelation, which means to reveal. The revelation of Yahawashi Hamashiach, which Yahweh gave him to show to his bondservants the things which must soon take place, and he sent and communicated by his angel to his bondservant John. So we're going to go to Revelation 1, verse 13. And in the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet and girded across his chest with a golden sash. So he had like a golden girdle. He had like, most people, if you watch WWE, he had a championship belt. Like not really a championship belt, but almost like it too. His head and his hair were white like wool, like snow, and his eyes were a flame of fire. So he had white woolly hair. His feet were like burnished bronze when it has been made to glow in the furnace, and his voice was the sound of many waters. I mean, it's very clear, it's very understandable. If the description who Yahawashi Hamashiach looks like, who people call Jesus Christ, it's very clear he was a black man. I mean, he had bronze skin as if it glowed in a furnace. Because remember, I have a different Bible. This is not my Bible. This is my girlfriend's. I'm just using it for this lesson. But he had his feet like unto fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace, according to the King James Version. And if you burn brass or you put it in a furnace, it's going to get very dark. It's that simple to understand. It's not something that's, you know, extraterrestrial. It needs a ridiculous breakdown. This is very plain and simple. But you know, Christianity likes to play these games with the scriptures. They like to see something and then they say, no, this is not what it means, okay? Which is crazy. It's folly, man. It's ridiculous. Something can be so clear and plain, but people will make it seem more than they're just being annoying bastards and pests, man. That's what Christianity really is, man. And he had the voice of the sound of many waters. So he had a very authoritative voice, like I said before. He was the real deal. He was not a joke to be reckoned with. Yahawashi was a force to be reckoned with. And people need to put respect on his name. Seriously. Not that, you know, 15th, 16th century of who the world called Jesus Christ. That bastard known as Cesare Borgia. That bastard, man. That disgusting, filthy, abominable looking appearance that every time I see that, it pisses me off, man. But with that, that's all I gotta say. Akim and Aqua, who happen to be listening. This is my first real lesson, so Salakia, if there were certain things I missed out on, there's definitely more to come. I definitely want to just focus on really getting more cemented with the scriptures. but I just wanted to give, you know, an account of who Yahawashi was. And it's very plain and simple to understand. But if you want to go check it out yourselves, I'll read the book and the chapter and verses that I applied in this video. So I checked out Matthew chapter 10, verses 34 through 38. I checked out John chapter 2, verse 13 through 16. Matthew chapter 23, verses 23 through 39. Matthew chapter 16, 21 through 24. Mark chapter 9, verses 28 through 32. Matthew chapter 15, verses 22 to 28. Luke 19, Luke 19, 21 through 22 and verse 27. And then Revelation chapter 1. And with that, I want to say, Kal Halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakodash, and Shalom. Abba Ball.